I'll be making no apologies whatsoever for that long intro. I've spent many hours and done many hundreds of Ks on these gravel wheels, and that was just a few of the highlights there captured on camera. Now in today's video, I'll be covering a very quick overview of 650B versus 700C wheels and tyres, why I'm riding these G25 wheels from ICAN Cycling, the G25 wheel specifications, the tyre choice that I went with, and the installation, and most importantly, what was it like switching from 700C wheels over to these 650B wheels with fatter tyres on the Aspero. Kicking things off today with a quick overview of 650B versus 700C wheel sets. Now there's already a ton of good technical information about these two wheel sets online already, so I'll summarize here. 650B are a slightly smaller rim than the 700C, and they're usually paired with a larger volume tyre, meaning wider tyres, lower pressure, and better riding on more adventurous terrain, or maybe if you just want a softer ride on your bike. Overall, the rim and tyre combo of a 650B wheel isn't really that much different to a 700C wheel and tyre combo as well. So it's not going to completely transform your bike. It's going to change it just a little bit. So why these G25 650B wheels from ICAN Cycling? Well, the backstory is, ever since building the Aspero around 12 months ago with the 700C Firecrest wheels, I've always wondered what it would be like to ride 650Bs, lower tyre pressures, fatter tyres on some of the terrain around here. Some of the terrain that I have been riding the 700C tyres on would be much better suited for wider tyres, lower pressures, and the high country up in Bright I really could have done with a set up there. That was some pretty rough stuff for a gravel bike. So a few months back, ICAN Cycling out of China reached out to me asking would I like to test some of their wheels. They didn't specifically say what wheel set they would like to send me, so I jumped over to their website, had a look at what was available, and they had the G25s, exactly what I was after. I do receive a lot of requests to review, ride, and provide feedback on cycling products, but what really grabs my attention is when that product is something that I was already looking into, so here we are. That's why I've been rolling around on these wheels. On to the technical specifications of these specific wheel sets. Full carbon 650B or 27.5 inch, depending on how you carve up your definitions. The profile, 35mm deep, 25mm internal, 30mm external, and they are hookless tubeless, which looks like that, not that. Which does limit tyre choice a little bit, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. The spokes, SEPY X-ray, 24 back and front. The hubs, their own hubs, they call the D21, with centerlock discs. Bearings they use, NBK. The weights listed as 1340 grams. Now in all my excitement of getting these wheels onto the bike as soon as I could, I forgot to weigh the raw wheels out of the box. I have, however, weighed the entire system of the wheels and tyres and sealant, so you'll see that in just a moment up against the zips. It's quite impressive. Retail on these is currently $650 US. Do watch for shipping if you're having to ship out of China. ICAN do list local distribution points in the US, Europe, and out of Australia, where shipping from the Australian distribution point to here is free, so do be aware of that. Plus also be aware of importing costs too, depending on your country that you're in. On to what comes in the box, and it's just wheels. Yes, just the wheels. No extra spokes, no rim tape, bare bones wheels, keeping the costs down quite a bit. Out of the box, I put these rims without tyres on my giant TCR and gave them a quick spin. They appear to be straight, they appear to be round, all pretty good signs. Now ICAN do have a video online showing a set of G25 wheels being hand-built, so I didn't expect them to be too far out of shape straight out of the box. One of the issues that I did face with setting these wheels up is what width rim tape to use for the tubeless hookless rims. Now hooked rims, you can sort of ride up the sidewalls a little bit with a tubeless tape and Bob's your uncle, it's fine. But with hookless, as the tyre is interfacing with that sidewall, I really didn't think riding up the sidewalls with, say, 27mm rim tape or 28mm rim tape was a good thing. Now I did reach out to ICAN Cycling and they recommended 24mm width rim tape. I couldn't find 24, I went with 25 and that was fine. Installing this rim tape onto these rims with that internal channel was a bit of a task, but I eventually got there in the end. Now, given you have to use rim tape with these anyway, it would be nice if they shipped with it already installed. There were three factors that went into the tyre choice that I went with. First of all, they had to fit the 49mm 650B clearance my Aspero is rated for. They had to be hookless compatible to work with these G25 rims. And they had to be in stock, which was the hardest of all those three to solve. I ended up going with the Panaracer GravelKing SK, SK standing for small knob. And they came in 27.5 times 1.9, or if you measure in the other way, 650B times 148mm. They were in stock. The GravelKing tyres installed just fine. I used 60mm of sealant in both. And now that I have an air compressor, all my tubeless worries are gone. Well, most of them. Side by side with the Zip 303 Firecrest with the G40 40mm tyres, the G25 GravelKing are 26mm shorter in height, meaning the hubs and the bottom bracket of the bike is around 13mm lower using these 650B wheels. Width-wise, the G25s with the GravelKing come out at 50mm when installed, and the 303s with the Zip G40s measure in at 42mm. And finally, on the equipment comparison side of things, both wheel sets here were weighed minus the cassettes. So the ICAN G25s came in at 2930 grams, and the Zip 303 Firecrests with the G40s came in at 2775. There's a few grams in the different types of rotors each wheel set is running, and the 303s also have the tyre whizzes, so there's a few grams in that too. But overall, only a 155 gram difference between those two wheel sets. Not a lot at all. Now to discuss the ride. What was it like going from these 700C wheels over to the 650Bs? But I've got to state, it's not just about the wheels themselves and the rims, it's about the wheel system. So that's the wheels, the tyres, and the tyre pressure. They all factor into the experience. First impressions, they were not slow. I thought these were going to be slowing the bike down, really sluggish, bigger contact patch, more rolling resistance. Nope, it really wasn't the case. The Aspero, that I'm super familiar with after many thousands of Ks, handled almost the same in the saddle, out of the saddle, cornering, etc. The ride change wasn't as dramatic as what I thought, but I guess it may have been different had I been coming from 35mm tyres on the 303s. I've gone from 40mm tyres, or 42 as they measure, up to 50s. The biggest difference though was when I started tweaking with the tyre pressure. Now this has taken some time to dial in with the 650B wheels. Using the SRAM Axis tyre pressure guide and a few other sites as reference, they recommended 28 to 29 PSI. Again, a little softer in the front, a little harder in the back. That felt pretty harsh when riding these 650Bs with those pressures. It was super fast, don't get me wrong. The first ride I think I came back with a 27 km/h average, but it just wasn't quite where I wanted it. Ride number 2, 25 PSI, 26 in the back, little better, still a little harsh. Ride number 3 and onwards, 22 in the front, 23 to 24 in the back, absolutely perfect. These things are just where it should be for my weight and the riding that I do. So as a roadie, these tyre pressures are insanely low, hence me going to the upper recommendation first and then sort of bringing them back down to where I got that sweet spot. Tyre pressure itself is a whole other topic, but when it comes to gravel, it's something that I'm learning about given the change in terrain, going from say smooth tarmac on the way out to the gravel forest to rough as guts, teeth rattling rocks. Finding that sweet spot has been a bit of a trick, but a lot of fun. Onto the tyres, the GravelKing SK 48mm, and I've made some notes here. These tyres fling stones like nothing else. Now I've got a ton of footage showing them spitting rocks everywhere. One of my cameras is ruined from stone chips. People call the GravelKing the Gravel Fling. If you're riding behind somebody with these tyres, make sure you've got sunglasses on. Grip-wise, they were brilliant. On the tarmac, on the dry gravel, and some of the hard-packed damp climbs that I was doing, they had tons of bite, no spin-outs whatsoever. They really weren't my first choice of tyres, given I had to go with what was in stock, but they're now one of my favourites. One word of warning, like Mugwai, do not get them wet. The SKs, the small mobs, are not built for riding in the wet. That's okay for me, I'm a fair weather cyclist. If it's raining outside, I'm in here on Zwift. The two areas that really changed the ride for me using 650B and wider tyres were, first of all, on the really rough stuff at higher speeds. They didn't squirrel around looking for another line and the bike twitching under you. They just straight lined one of my test tracks that I have. I played it in the intro, I'll play it again here. We're hitting speeds of around 50 k's an hour. There's not a lot of surface grip, and the skinnier tyres seemed to, well, for lack of a better word, they felt squirrely, sort of twitching around. The 650Bs and the 48mm combo and those lower pressures just straight lined this straight for home. And secondly, they had tons of grip on the lower speed, very, very steep climbs I was riding. That does come down to surface, I guess, and grip type, but the SKs were holding on just fine. Two things I expected and two things that I did encounter with this setup. So in conclusion, 650B or 700C, which to go with? Well, the answer for me is both. It really depends where I'll be riding. If I'm out this way on the long, straight, dusty farm roads, 700C all day long. If I'm going this way to Creswick Forest or up to the Bright High Country, it's 650B all day long with those lower pressures. Now I've set these wheels up almost identically. They'll swap in under a minute, so it all comes down to where I'm heading. So there we have it, my experience with these 650B wheels over the last few weeks. In short, they've been a bit of fun. Now let me know in the comments below if you're a gravel rider, are you 700C, are you 650B, or are you both? And as always, if you have any questions, jump in the comments below as well. Thanks for watching.